Miranda Werner and her husband Daniel had just checked into a hotel in the Dominican Republic. They posted these photos from their luxury room. By the looks of it, the start of an exciting dream vacation. Then 41-year-old Miranda took a drink out of the minibar. Miranda's husband says she suddenly screamed in pain, then collapsed. He and hotel staff administered CPR, then tried to revive her with an EpiPen, but she died right there in her room. Could she have been poisoned? Her brother-in-law spoke to Fox News.
She was one moment taking pictures. I think she took a selfie, smiling, happy, and then the next moment in extreme pain and collapsing.
The Werners, who are both psychologists from Allentown, Pennsylvania, were celebrating their 9th wedding anniversary. Incredibly, another American couple who checked into a hotel in the same resort complex on the same day were found dead in their room 5 days later. The bodies of 63-year-old Edward Holmes and his 49-year-old fiancée Cynthia Day were discovered by staff after they missed their checkout times. The cause of all 3 deaths is said to be respiratory failure and pulmonary edema. But Good Morning America's Dr. Jen Ashton says that doesn't tell us much about why they died.
Until we see a post-mortem report, an autopsy report with full toxicology, we don't know what the cause of death was.
The Bahia Principe Resort said in a statement, "We are deeply saddened by the incident and want to express our deepest condolences. The investigation is ongoing."
This was very disturbing, and the more you hear, the worse it sounds.
The deaths of 3 Americans under mysterious circumstances is the latest public relations disaster for the Dominican Republic, a vacation mecca for 6 million Americans. Tourist Tammy Lawrence Daly was savagely beaten during her vacation as she went looking for a late-night snack at her resort.
He just kept hitting and hitting and hitting, and it was the worst pain ever. Just unbelievable. And all I could think of was that my husband's going to find me here.
She claims the hotel is trying to cover up the crime. Now there are calls for the FBI to investigate these disturbing incidents.
In our World Lead today, it has been a horrifying mystery these past few days. 3 Americans dying at the same resort in the Dominican Republic within a 5-day period. Preliminary autopsy results today reveal Nathaniel Holmes and Cynthia Day had internal bleeding and fluid in their lungs, and Miranda Schaup Werner had a heart attack. These are not yet official causes of death because officials are still awaiting toxicology reports. And now, a Colorado couple says they were poisoned at that resort, and they're telling their story to CNN. As CNN senior investigative correspondent Drew Griffin reports, they believe their poisoning and the recent deaths are not a coincidence.
Kaylin Cannell reached out to CNN almost immediately after learning 3 Americans just died at the same resort in the Dominican Republic, where she believes she was poisoned along with her boyfriend.
What is your reaction?
Blood boiling. It's too coincidental with the symptoms that we had for me to even begin to stay quiet about it.
1 year ago this month, the Colorado couple traveled to the all-inclusive Grand Bahia Principe Resort La Romana. And for the first few days, it seemed a vacation of a lifetime. But on the 6th day, Cannell became ill.
I woke up with a headache one morning. We had gone to breakfast to see if I could get some water, get some juice, try some food, feel better. And then when we came back to the room, it actually hit us a lot stronger, and we smelled the smell of chemicals.
She got progressively worse. Then her boyfriend Tom Schwander started feeling it too. They say they were sweating, drooling, dizzy, nauseous. It wouldn't go away. Neither would the smell in their hotel room.
We saw a housekeeper outside and called her in to see if she could come in. She walked maybe 5-6 feet into the room and turned around and said, "I'm not doing that," and then got on her walkie-talkie to the front desk and said, "Something's going on with this room." She refused to come in and clean it.
Kaylin and Tom had seen someone spraying plants near the air conditioner outside their room. They assumed it was pesticide, but the hotel wouldn't say what it was. They switched rooms twice. It didn't help.
It progressed over the rest of our trip and then over the course of a couple weeks after.
A couple of weeks?
Yeah. The abdominal cramping and the GI upset lasted for a few weeks.
And you said drooling?
Yeah, drooling.
Sweat?
Bad sweat, tearing.
Dizzy?
Dizzy, nauseous. And the abdominal cramping was the worst. That was the hardest symptom to deal with. It was just so much pain.
Back in Colorado, Knoll's physician diagnosed her with organophosphate poisoning. Schwander's doctors suspect the same thing. Heavily regulated, and in some cases banned in the U.S., organophosphates are man-made chemicals found in insecticides. Exposure can cause increased saliva, tear production, diarrhea, nausea, sweating, confusion, and death. The couple says they still have occasional symptoms, and they are most concerned about their future health. Even after filing a lawsuit, they still do not know what exactly poisoned them.
Honestly, all I wanted was the chemical name. That is all I ever wanted. I could care less about the money if I can save my own life later. And him, too. It's what happened to him, what happened to me. What is it that we can do at this point?
Jake, the Bahia Resort Company failed to answer almost all of our questions, told us specifically they wouldn't comment on this case involving this couple because of the legal matter that's pursued, and then told us not to even speculate about the recent deaths at their resort while those deaths continue to be investigated. Jake?
Drew Griffin, thank you so much.
Authorities in the Dominican Republic say they believe an American couple that went missing in late March died in a car crash. Portia Ravenel and Orlando Moore were scheduled to fly home from a 4-day trip on March 27th. Police say an injured woman was found on a highway the same day. She was taken to a local hospital where she later died. Days later, authorities recovered a body with a tattoo matching Moore's. Local police believe the couple might have crashed their rental car on the way to the airport. They say there is a car at the bottom of the Caribbean Sea that has not yet been retrieved. A forensic pathologist is working to positively identify the victims.
Know that Khalid Adkins and his daughter have been having a great time on the beach Sunday near Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic. Not long afterward, he found himself in pain.
My dad was just like, oh, something bit me on the side of his leg. And then he was like, but it really hurts. Is it supposed to hurt like that?
Mia Adkins thought it might have been a mosquito bite and returned to Denver on a scheduled flight that night. Her father, though, ended up in a Santo Domingo hospital Monday and was desperately trying to get help from family in Colorado. Frustration quickly set in.
I just don't understand. I don't understand how I go from being able to talk to him and see him on his Facebook to some random person answering it and telling me he had died.
The State Department confirmed Adkins' death today. He is the 9th tourist to die in the Dominican Republic since the beginning of the year. DR officials say the number of deaths are not unusual and are not related. Still, the family has so many questions.
Why, how? We had zero contact with anyone at the hospitals. We tried, I don't know how many times to call.
For Mia, this has been a hard day.
I literally was with my dad on ATVs riding through the DR, having a good time, and now he's gone.
She was the last family member to see her dad alive.
I'm still, in shock. I still don't want to believe it's true. I still don't believe it's true. I have no words, honestly.
It was supposed to be a romantic getaway with her boyfriend at the luxury Bahia Principe Bougainville Resort last October. But just a few hours into Alwilda Montez's vacation, she was rushed to the hospital.
You finally get, those days off that you look forward to, and something like this will happen. You just don't expect it.
The Brooklyn woman says it all started when she opened a bottle of 7-Up from her hotel room's minibar. She noticed it didn't have fizz and assumed it was simply flat, but quickly tasted what she believed was bleach.
I was cautious when I took a gulp of it, and I immediately felt it burn me. It burned my mouth. I felt it burn my tongue. My mouth was on fire. When I spit it out into the bathroom sink, it was blood. I was just irrigating my mouth.
The hotel staff brought her to a local clinic where doctors treated her for the pain and vomiting. Montez says the resort apologized, offering upscale dinner reservations and a couple's massage.
At the time, I didn't think that it was done deliberately until I saw the news and realized that, that there has to be some kind of correlation between what happened to me and what happened to them.
She's referring to the 3 American tourists found dead last month at the same resort. 41-year-old Miranda Schaaf Werner collapsed and died after also drinking a beverage from the minibar, according to her family. 5 days later, this Maryland couple found unresponsive in their room at a sister hotel in the same resort with no signs of violence. Relatives say they were healthy.
I believe that these people were poisoned. I would have been poisoned had I not held it in my mouth and spit it out, because it took effect really fast.
In a statement, the resort claims Shop Werner died of a heart attack. A family spokesperson says she was treated for a heart issue years ago, but was recently in good health.
We don't have any answers of what happened down there.
And the FBI confirms it is investigating the sudden deaths. Preliminary autopsies indicate all three had the same cause: fluid in the lungs and respiratory failure. Resort officials tell CBS News the deaths are unrelated. We have reached out to them for information in Montez's case. We are still waiting to hear back. A lot of people, of course, still hoping for some clarity in these mysteries. In the newsroom, Rena Roy, TV 1055.
Report: Teen tourist slips into coma on Dominican Republic trip. By Catherine Rodriguez on June 26, 2019. A teenage girl from Argentina slipped into a coma on her trip to the Dominican Republic, with doctors saying she may have a life-threatening diabetic condition. The New York Post reported that Candela Sacconi, 15, was scheduled to leave Punta Cana on June 19th, but she reportedly came down with a diabetic-like illness, even though family members say she has no history of diabetes, the morning of her expected departure date. Sacconi's mother, Natalia Netsch, said her daughter got sick the night before their expected departure after she allegedly lost her appetite and had an extremely sore throat. Netsch later added that when her daughter began displaying symptoms of dizziness, vomiting, and dehydration, she took her to a local medical center. Once there, doctors diagnosed her with diabetic ketoacidosis. Diabetic ketoacidosis is a complication of diabetes that occurs when the body can't produce enough insulin, according to a fact sheet from the Mayo Clinic. Officials reportedly transported Sacconi from the hospital in Punta Cana to General Hospital of the Plaza de la Salud in Santo Domingo, because Argentine officials said she could not get adequate treatment at the facility in Punta Cana. It is unclear when the teen slipped into the coma, but she remained unconscious as of Tuesday. The Dominican Minister of Health visited with her family, telling CNN she was receiving care at a high-quality hospital center. At least 11 people have died in the Dominican Republic after getting sick at resort-like areas over the past year, and dozens more have remained ill.
Oh God, it's hot here in the damn Midwest. When is this fucking heat wave gonna let fuck up? It's like the opposite of that damn polar vortex we had earlier this fucking year. What's going on, guys? So, as promised, I'm gonna speak on this strange series of incidents that have been going on in the Caribbean, and more specifically, the Dominican Republic. And I'm going to match it with the larger matter that I have discussed in the past with particularly us black people when we go on vacation and we travel, not just overseas or outside of the country, but when we go anywhere outside of an area that we are familiar with. Now, as you have heard, there have been a series of very mysterious cases of people getting deathly ill, very sick, and in some cases dying. As a matter of fact, since last year, there have been 11 cases of people dying while visiting the Dominican Republic. Most of these cases, the people were reportedly, they were, in good health. They were feeling fine, enjoying their vacation. And the next thing you know, they took a fucking drink, or they jumped in a pool, or they went around a corner and, you know, they wound up dead, or, you know, all of a sudden seriously critically ill. Now, in the latest incident, this young 14-year-old girl in Argentina, she was with her mother on vacation in the Dominican Republic, and, you know, according to her family, perfectly healthy young girl, and next thing you know, out of fucking nowhere, you know, she just falls unconscious, slips into a coma after complaining of some chest and stomach pains. They take her to the hospital, and what do you know, out of nowhere, she has diabetes. Now, I'm not a doctor, but I can tell you one thing for damn sure, because it's just common sense and logic. Anyone know, as a matter of fact, there was a documentary series that used to come on the BBC back in the day called Seconds from Disaster. And in the intro, I love BBC documentaries. They make some of the best documentary series I've ever seen if you're into, you know, like real life drama and suspense. And in the intro, they say that disasters don't just happen. They are a chain of critical events that lead up to something, okay? A motherfucker doesn't just go on vacation, okay, and all is well, and then all of a sudden, not only does he have a heart attack, but his fiance, his girlfriend or whatever, has a heart attack. They die of the same fucking thing, as was seen with the black couple that were found dead in their rooms 5 days after another woman died of virtually the same thing, pulmonary emphysema or whatever they call it, okay? A 14-year-old girl doesn't jump in a pool and, you know, a few hours later, all of a sudden, she falls so ill that she falls into a coma. And then all of a sudden, she's been healthy her whole life, no history of diabetes. All of a sudden, she has complications of diabetes that are life-threatening, okay? And there was another black couple back in March, before the media really caught on to this, that I showed y'all in a series of video clips. Another middle-aged black couple. They were finishing their trip in the Dominican Republic. They jumped in a rental car to head to the airport, right? And they disappear. And then not only do they disappear, when their bodies are found days later, okay, the woman is found badly hurt on the side of a fucking road, and she dies at the hospital. But then they find the body of her husband in the water along with the car. Now, here's the problem with that theory. They said that they believe that the couple were in an accident. This is why I don't buy that shit. Because if you're in an accident like that, why would one body be found on dry land and the other one in the sea with the car? If he lost control of the car, or she lost control of the car and it went over the cliff, what the fuck did she do? Bail out in the nick of time as she saw it going over the cliff? Generally, you don't have enough time to do that, okay? And if they were in an accident, were there not any other vehicles on the road that day? Why did it take hours to find her body and then days to find his? Why were their bodies found in two different places, okay? And then there was another woman who died literally a year before these three couples, the black couple and the white woman from Pennsylvania, died in their rooms after drinking from a mini bar. She died of similar of a heart attack in a different hotel owned by the same resort company, right? So something is definitely, and then, you know, you also, even though that's completely unrelated, or so it seems, you see how the Dominican Republic is trying to cover up what happened to Red Sox Hall of Famer David Ortiz when he was there visiting some friends in his own home country, and he gets shot in the back, and these motherfuckers are talking about he wasn't the intended target. Did y'all see that fucking video? That dude wasn't aiming at nobody but David Ortiz. The man is huge and he's black as charcoal. There's no way possible that he could be mistaken for somebody else, especially not a lighter skinned Latina guy that was his friend. Okay? There's no way that he was mistaken for anything else. And yet the government and the investigators over there are trying to cover that shit up, talking about he wasn't the intended target. Why? Probably because of some of their own people were involved in the plot to try to assassinate David Ortiz. Okay? So whether these incidents are related or not, okay, that's not the issue for me. Well, it is an issue if they are. I believe there's no shadow of a doubt that some of these issues, especially the ones that happened at the resorts, I definitely believe those are related. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Then you had another white woman. She said she went around a corner after hours, left her hotel suite in the same hotel resort to get, go to a vending machine and get some snacks. And a hotel employee, or what she said was a person in a uniform, just randomly attacked her and started beating the living hell out of her. And she has the picture of the bruises and lacerations on her face to prove it. And these resorts and the government of the DR are denying all of this. And they're denying it for two reasons. One, because, at least in the David Ortiz case, they probably know, they were probably in on it or had, some elements of the government or the police in on it, which is why they claim he's not the intended target. And the other thing, they're saying that all of this shit is a coincidence, which it's not, okay? There's no possible way you can have this much shit happening at one time and it all just be a fucking coincidence, okay? Now keep in mind the Dominican Republic is not that large of a country. This many foreigners dying in that short period of time visiting a fucking place is not a coincidence. It's not like we're talking about a place as big as New York City or China or something. That would possibly be a coincidence, okay? But some of this stuff is definitely fucking connected, okay? Now, how does that tie to black people? Well, for one thing, as you can see, and there was another black guy that died just last week in the Dominican Republic. I showed you in that series of video clips. He claimed he felt sudden pain on his leg while swimming with his daughter, in the surf with his daughter. He gets out of there. They can't find a wound on his leg, and something may have bit him, but there was no indication of what was causing the pain on his leg. And then next thing you know, he's dead in a Dominican hospital. Okay, so what we need to learn from this is it's not so much a issue of what is going on per se in the Dominican Republic, because there have been other issues of tourists mysteriously dying and mysteriously disappearing in these fucking places. I mean, who can forget the case of Natalie Holloway? To this day, people believe that it was some of her, some of the college boys that she was with that, wanted to fuck her and she resisted, and they wound up killing her and hiding the body. But to this day, we don't know what the fuck happened to that girl, okay? Nor do we know what happened to this couple in Fiji, which is in the South Pacific, I believe.
This is close to where they got married in Hawaii.
Michelle and David Paul loved traveling.
Family.
Almost as much as they loved their family.
We were all supposed to be in San Antonio on vacation for the 4th of July.
But instead of vacationing this week, their family is instead waiting for Michelle and David's bodies to be flown back to America from Fiji.
It's incredibly surreal that now we're at their house and trying to heal, and they're not here. So it's hard.
Sister-in-law Tracy Calinog says it's been nearly 40 agonizing days.
It's emotional for all of us.
Since the Pauls mysteriously died while on a vacation of a lifetime in Fiji.
They've been throwing up for 8 or 9 hours.
In recent days, the family says the CDC ruled out influenza or infectious disease as the cause of death.
And so they have turned their focus to toxins.
That includes the possibility they were poisoned. That's something that you're not ruling out.
No.
This latest video Michelle took of David at a restaurant in Fiji was shared there as investigators try to retrace the couple's steps, even what they ate. Their deaths remain front-page news in the South Pacific island nation. Monday night, Michelle's father told WFAA their bodies have finally been cleared to ship back to the U.S. He hopes to have them back here within a week.
It's hard.
Back home, a garden David started in the backyard with his son still blooms.
Oh, he was a family person, through and through. I mean, they both were.
But the family worries they may never know why these young parents and young travelers lost their lives. In Fort Worth, I'm Lauren Zakalik.
Now, the family tells Lauren officials are running toxicology tests in Australia. That could take up to 6 weeks, but they do have a conference call with the CDC later this month and hope to get some answers then.
So see, and you can see that couple in this collage down on the left-hand side at the bottom in that article. That's exactly what I'm talking about. This happened in Fiji. Oh shit, hold on. Sorry, y'all. Get so goddamn sick of these fucking commercials. But anyway, that's what I'm talking about. That happened in Fiji, okay? And just like in the case with the two separate black couples in Dominican Republic in both March and May, okay? The white couple in Fiji, they died mysteriously from something, and the FBI believes that they may have been poisoned because the CDC has ruled out any type of infectious disease, okay? So somebody is going around on these fucking islands, and keep in mind, Fiji is nowhere near the Dominican Republic. Fiji, I believe, is in the South Pacific or somewhere in the Pacific. The Dominican Republic, of course, is it belongs to the very many island nations in the Caribbean. Okay, so somebody or a series of somebodies is going around on these islands where American tourists frequent and poisoning people. Okay, and so that brings me to, the point of this video, which is that this isn't so much about the Dominican Republic. I hear this is about using common sense and being alert and aware of your surroundings, as I've said time after time after time. Okay, I hear so many of you brothers talk about getting your passport, and one of the main places that I hear a lot of you Negroes have mentioned in the past is the Dominican Republic and places in South America like Brazil. And let's face it, look, we'll be realistic here, okay? Reason why black men like going to those places is because dealing with the women, prostitution is easier to get fine women, for cheaper down there. It is what it is, okay? We all know those females, they see American tourists, they see dollar signs, they ain't no different than these hoes here, okay? I've been on dating sites where I've talked to these, hoes in the Philippines. I'm talking about way back, like a decade ago. And when them hoes found out they wasn't gonna get nothing from me right off the top, I got the same response from them that I did from these American hoes. Okay, so that's the real reason that a lot of black men are talking about get your passport. But don't get me wrong. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. There's nothing wrong with traveling. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. But wherever you go, you have to be aware of your surroundings, okay? I used to have a saying, and my dad agreed with it before any of you knew me, actually back when I was in my early college years. I used to say that you have to remember when you travel, when you go somewhere, okay? Wherever you go, it's new to you. But it's the same to people who have been there before you came, okay? Meaning there are people that live there that know what the fuck is going on, okay? To you, it's exciting because it's a place that you've never been to before. So you could walk right into the middle of a cesspool of crime or, some other crazy, some death ritual type shit, any of a number of things. There could be a serial killer on the loose, or a rapist, a kidnapper. You have gangs in Mexico that kidnap foreign tourists, for ransom. You could walk into the middle of any fucking thing. Those countries, I know a lot of black people don't like the term third world country, but those countries are very, very poor. And while they rely heavily on, you know, the tourism industry, you also have to remember, including with the Bahamas, okay, there's a lot of, when you get outside of those fancy schmancy beach and coastline resorts, and you go into the you know, the inner part of those islands, there's a lot of crime, there's a lot of poverty, there's a lot of, you know, government and police corruption, okay? There's a lot of crazy shit that goes on in those fucking places. There's a lot of Satan worshiping and shit. You know, they find, I mean, in South America, they find mostly local people, but, you know, the homicides, people's bodies be cut up and buried like, you know, 50 feet underground and shit. If you don't believe me, go to this place called documentingreality.com, okay? Those places, you know, just because it's foreign and exotic to you, a lot of those places are hell on earth. Why do you think so many immigrants are coming up here from places like Honduras? They're trying to get the hell out of Dodge, because those places aren't as paradise as y'all think they are, okay? And yes, they have a lot of evil-minded people there, you know, that are just mad with life and just want to hurt somebody. Now, this could be a foreign agent. You know, I've heard conspiracy theorists say that it could be North Korea or China or Russia behind what's going on these islands, you know, intentionally poisoning American tourists for, you know, test runs for a war. I think that's stupid. But something definitely malicious is going on, okay? This couldn't all be a fucking coincidence. And I remember, was it a few years back, there was an entire white family from Delaware that they were in a island resort, I think in the Philippines, and they just all of a sudden, all of them fell into comas. They all went brain dead. And to this day, nobody knows what happened to them. And y'all also remember, keep in mind, remember this story. Everybody forgot about this shit. Everybody forgot about this.
Reads like it reads like a Cold War spy novel. One government official saying the incidents were so severe that some U.S. diplomats needed to get hearing aids. It comes as the relations between the U.S. and Cuba had started to improve, but now the future of diplomacy between the two countries seems uncertain. This morning, new questions about just what happened in Cuba after a string of bizarre incidents that apparently left a group of American diplomats in Havana with severe hearing loss attributed to a covert sonic device.
It is a cause of great concern for us. It's caused a variety of physical symptoms in these American citizens who work for the U.S. government. We take those incidents very seriously, and there is an investigation currently underway.
The AP reporting the incidents, saying that after months of investigation, U.S. officials, speaking on the condition of anonymity, have concluded that the diplomats had been exposed to an advanced device that operated outside the range of audible sound and had been deployed either inside or outside their residences. It was not immediately clear if the device was a weapon used in a deliberate attack or had some other purpose. The State Department saying only the diplomats suffered a variety of physical symptoms.
One of the things we talk about here often is that the safety and security of American citizens at home and abroad is our top priority.
Cuba saying it's investigating the incidents and that, quote, Cuba has never nor would it ever allow that the Cuban territory be used for any action against accredited diplomatic agents or their families. The incidents took place in the fall of 2016, shortly after the U.S. Embassy in Havana reopened as part of President Obama's effort to resume diplomatic relations with Cuba after decades of hostility. That relationship now in jeopardy, the State Department saying 2 Cuban diplomats were expelled from their embassy in Washington back in May.
As a result of that, we've asked 2 Cubans to leave the United States, and they have.
In other words, this is a reciprocity thing.
I'm not going to call it as such, but we asked 2 people to go home.
President Trump actually rolled back parts of President Obama's policy toward Cuba, though some elements remained in place, including the reopening of the U.S. Embassy in Havana. The Florida Senator Marco Rubio, whose parents fled Cuba, weighed in on this topic, saying personal harm to U.S. officials shows the extent the Castro regime will go and clearly violates international norms. Matt in Savannah.
Hi, Peter Alexander. Peter, thank you.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for checking.
And see, again, this is exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. How many of y'all remember that from 1 or 2 years ago, where there were U.S. diplomats in Cuba, another island nation, I believe in the Caribbean, that they were getting headaches and hearing loss from some type of fucking device, okay? And it would not, I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I think the media and the FBI they need to look for any type of connections between what happened in Cuba that is still not yet explained and what's happening in the Dominican Republic. They need to look, to see, look like on surveillance videos to see if the same people that were hanging around these U.S. embassies in Cuba, if they could spot any of them in the Dominican Republic, Fiji, and some of these other places where this shit's been going on, okay? Because I would not be surprised if the same person or people that were responsible for what happened in Cuba were responsible for what happened in the Dominican Republic, okay? It's obvious somebody who doesn't like Americans, okay? And I wouldn't be surprised if what happened to David Ortiz, I'm not even a conspiracy theorist, I wouldn't be surprised if that was even connected in some type of way. Somebody who don't like the fact that he made it big, over in the United States, and, now, he thinks he's Mr. Hotshot, and they tried to kill him. I don't know. All I'm telling you is this shit, in Cuba, the Dominican Republic, Fiji, the Philippines, this shit is not a fucking coincidence, okay? And so what particularly black people, because you notice mostly black people have been affected by this as far as losing their lives, okay? It's been more black tourists that have died than anybody in these recent cases, okay? What you need to understand is, as I said, when you go to these places, okay, it's new to you. It's not new to everybody who's already been living there, okay? And when you get outside of the jurisdiction of the United States, and I talked about this with coworkers back when, I was working some jobs before I started my own business that had actually gone overseas and had weird things happen to them. You have to understand that if something, a lot of people, a lot of Americans in general don't think about this, okay? And anybody who's went on vacation and has encountered some type of trouble will tell you this as a matter of fact, okay? When you get outside of the borders of the United States, for the most part, all you're thinking about is the wonderful vacation that you're going to have and the good time you're going to have. You're not thinking about any potential trouble that you may encounter, like being robbed, raped, kidnapped, murdered, poisoned, even if you get into an accident. When you are outside of the United States, besides the United States Embassy and the State Department, you are at the complete mercy, or if something happened to your family member, it is at the complete mercy of local and government officials over there in those countries by their laws. And if they're corrupt, then you just up shit's creek. And a lot of times, it doesn't even have anything to do with corruption. A lot of times they will cover it up for the fear of, it ruining the tourism industry over there. And a lot of times they just don't have the resources to commit to fully investigating just one particular case of a tourist that got fucked up, okay? So when you go over there, you got to think, usually you can't bring any weapons with you. So you're completely defenseless. Anything happens to your ass, at least over here they'll send out a search party. The police will investigate. You can call 911. But in those countries, I've talked to people, I ask them, when you plan these vacations, do you have like an interpreter with you that speaks the language? Do you know the emergency numbers for, ambulance or police service? They say no. You don't. I never really thought about that. I never thought I would have to, need any of that. But then when it happened to them, they realized just how alone they were in these foreign lands. Okay? And I spoke about this particular story. As many of y'all recall, I made 2 videos about it last summer about this relatively attractive young black girl, Tania Jones, who she was in a foreign exchange student program from the University of Kentucky, and she went to the University of Amman in Jordan, which is in the Middle East, and some people that she befriended over there convinced her to cross the border from Jordan into Israel, and she wound up disappearing, and days later her body washed up on the shores of Tel Aviv. Okay? And Israeli authorities, they claimed that she went swimming in the dead of night in a weave. Okay? Now we know that most black females that go, to, pools or beaches, they don't get in the water. Most black people do not know how to swim in general. Okay? Most of them are not going to get in a bed of water. I'm one of them. In a large bed of water. I'm one of them. They will go to a yacht for a yacht party, but not know how to swim if that motherfucker sinks, So and her mother confirmed this, that it was unlikely that she went swimming because she didn't swim because she was originally from Florida, Tampa, Florida, and her mom said she never even went swimming on the beaches in Florida where she, near where she lived. Okay? So all of a sudden, she goes overseas, just like these people in the Dominican Republic suddenly dying from heart attacks and going into comas, in diabetic shock when they were perfectly healthy. She's never swam a day in her life, and now all of a sudden she's going to go to a foreign country, and then in the dead of night, as dark as it is, on the, along the coastline on most beaches, and she's just going to decide to go for a midnight swim and get swept out to sea? Look, that's bullshit. Okay, I will never believe. You know what I think about black females in general, but I will, as far as this girl's case, and I've researched it extensively, can't really find much on it. Why? Because it's in a foreign country, and the government's going to cover up anything that actually did happen, because they don't really have to answer for any type of foreigner unless it's something big, like a government official's loved one or something that's a diplomat. Okay, they're going to try to cover it up. I will never believe that this girl just died from fucking drowning after going for a midnight swim. But again, this is the type of shit that you have to worry about. This is the type of shit you go through when you go to a foreign country and you don't prepare for the worst, because you're just thinking about the best. You're thinking about how much fun you're gonna have. Okay? You're not thinking about, what if I run into a problem here? What if I get in an accident? What if my wallet gets stolen? Even something little like that. Let alone, what if somebody grabs me or, tries to kidnap me or tries to rape me or worse, you know what I'm saying? Or I get sick over here. What am I going to do? Okay? And you got to remember another thing. A lot of stuff just doesn't respond. In a lot of countries, they just can't respond to stuff, like emergencies, the same way they do over here in this country with our vast resources, because we consume 40% of the world's resources. A lot of countries just don't have the manpower. They just don't have the resources to go looking for your ass if something happened to you. Okay? You got to remember, they got a lot of criminals and fiendish stuff going on in these other countries too. Okay? So, basically my point is, and specifically for black people, you have to keep in mind that the world is not, a very nice place. Okay? And there's a lot of, these people could have very well died from and gotten sick from different things in the Dominican Republic. Though I do think some of it was malicious and some of it was connected. Okay? The fact is, none of them nor their families were prepared for the what if, okay? You have to watch your back. You know, if you're in South Chicago, certain parts of LA, New York, New Orleans, you know, if you're a smart person, that you have to watch your back. You have to do the same thing when you go to these other countries, okay? It's an island paradise to you because you've never been there. But to the people who've lived there their whole lives, it's complete fucking hell. And they know what corners not to go around, okay? Just like in that Tania Jones case that was never solved, and the Israeli government just came up with some shit. The Dominican Republican government is just coming up with shit. The government in Fiji is just coming up with shit. Cuban government is just coming up with shit. Nobody really knows what happened to these people, okay? But that's the risk you take when you only plan for the best and you're not prepared for the worst. So anyway, guys, you know, especially for you black men talking about get your passport, be safe, be smart, stay alive. Talk to you later, guys.